Hello everybody. Welcome all to this special session on DME course. This is for module 16, that is a special session for the practical assignment of module 16. This assignment is related to carry out the risk assessment for a conveyor system. So here, as you can see, the main task is to carry out the risk assessment on a underground conveyor in a coal mine. So for this, you have to perform three main tasks. First is perform the initial risk assessment, then suggest the risk reduction methods, then perform the revised risk assessment. So in this exercise you have been given a typical conveyor. This conveyor is used for transporting the coal from the coal mine to a particular bin, which is located at a distance of about 1000 meters from the bin. Now this is a figure image of this conveyor, which takes the coal from the conveyor from the coal mine and it delivers it to a certain bin. Now this conveyor system is located in an underground tunnel. This is a typical underground tunnel. So for this system you have to perform the risk assessment. Firstly, you have to study this conveyor system very carefully. Then you have been given the Excel spreadsheet, which is named as assignment RA. RA stands for risk assessment. So you have been given this Excel sheet. Let us see this Excel spreadsheet. We have to try to understand this Excel spreadsheet very carefully. This RA Excel spreadsheet comprises of three sheets. As you can see, this is the conveyor RA record, then here this is RA summary, then here this is risk parameters. So in a single sheet there are three sheets. Most of our work will be done on this conveyor RA record. Okay, so let us start with this conveyor RA record sheet. So first what we have to do, we have to study this spreadsheet carefully, and from this spreadsheet find out the various hazards associated with this conveyor. We have to consider this conveyor and find out the various hazards associated with it. So here as you can see we have got this column in which let me just pick up the pen. In this column, that is hazard type and source. Here we have this column, that is hazard type and source. It will list you the various hazards. So these are the various hazards. These are the hazards associated with different types of machines. So there is a long list of hazards. You have to find out the hazards that are applicable to the given conveyor. Remember, you have to find out the hazards that are applicable to the given conveyor. Here we have given you one example, like we have this hazard 1.1 related to this conveyor. So this hazard has been selected over here. Now this is the hazard. So here these are the this is the hazard. These are the consequences, the causes of the hazard, and here we have the consequences of the hazard. So here we have got a long list of the hazards. Find out the hazards that are applicable to the conveyor. For each of the hazard, write down the causes, then write down the consequences. You have to consider at least 10 hazards. More, if you consider more, that will be even better. So at least consider 10 hazards, find out the causes of each hazard, then find out the consequence of each hazard. Write down in these columns in the respective rows. Now comes the next very important part, that is the risk assessment. For this, as you can see, here we have got risk assessment column. Okay, we have got this risk assessment column. Under this, we have 5 categories of assessment, like we have LO, FE, DPH, NP, HRN. We have to put the ratings for each of these risks. What are these values? These values are explained in this sheet, that is risk parameters. So if you open this risk parameters sheet, then you'll be able to find out all these types of values, that is LO, FE, HRN. Then the suggested values for each of these categories have also been shown. So depending upon the type of the hazard, you have to select the suitable risk values and then put these values in this initial risk assessment. Let me pick up the pen once again. So put these values in the risk assessment. Okay, so this is the initial risk. So you can then find out from all these values, you'll be able to get this total risk value. Okay, now these are the risks associated with the human beings. You have to also consider the risk associated with the asset loss. The risk could be anything from 0 to 10. So write down the risk associated to the asset loss also. Now you must have considered large number of hazards. Whatever the hazards you have considered, so let us say you have considered this hazard, whatever the hazards you have considered, we highlight each of the hazard into red color. Okay, so here for example, let me select this column. So for example, you have considered this 1.1 hazard. So highlight this highlight this box, highlight this text to red color. So this is the hazard that you have selected. If you have selected another hazard, highlight this also in red color. Okay, so now you have carried out the initial risk assessment for the human beings and also for the asset. Now comes the next step, that is the risk reduction. Okay, just let me move this spreadsheet over here. Okay, now the next step is the risk assessment, risk reduction. So for this, let me just open this pen. So here we have got this risk reduction column. Okay, this is the risk reduction column. Now we have to suggest the various risk reduction methods. There are 3 possible methods for reducing the risk. This is the risk reduction by design, risk reduction by safeguarding, and risk reduction by information and training. So you have to suggest the risk reduction by these methods. For each of the hazards, suggest the suitable risk reductions by design, by safeguarding, and by information or training. Okay, sorry. So suggest these suitable risk reduction methods. Now what will happen is that once you have applied the risk reduction methods, the risk associated with each of the hazards will reduce. Now here you can see we have got this we have got this column for this revised assessment. Okay, I'm sorry, just let me move this over here. So here we have got these revised risk assessment column. Okay, So this is the revised risk assessment column. In this column, you have to now put the revised values. So values of LO will reduce, FE will reduce, DPH will reduce, MP and RN will reduce, the overall risk level will also reduce. So this is the revised risk assessment column in which you have to put the revised values after taking the risk reduction measures. Okay, so this will complete our task. Now here, whatever these hazards you have highlighted in red color, whatever the hazards you have considered and you have carried out the risk assessment for them, and you have carried out the risk reduction measures for them, you have to take these hazards and put these into the RA summary sheet. Okay, in the RA summary sheet, you have to write down all these hazards that you have considered, the causes and the actions that you have taken. The actions are also available in this conveyor RA record. So after you have entered the revised risk, you have to suggest the other actions to be taken and other comments that have to be included. So all this information that are about the applicable hazards has to be summarized in this RA summary sheet. Okay, this will complete our whole task. So this will complete our whole practical assignment task. So this was the practical task guidelines for the DME course, that is module 16. So thank you very much for joining me for the session. I hope this session was quite useful for you. So thank you very much and wish you all the best for your course.